right, good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment. Can you hand that to Carol for me? Just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. The order of business for this meeting is set out in the agenda. One item that you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes items that are considered routine and are of a recurring nature. All the items listed on the consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. If there is a consent agenda item which anyone here would like to address, please sign up to speak to that item and we will pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason it is held in public. It is not a public forum. However, we do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there is anyone who would like to address the board during an agenda item or citizens to be heard portion of the agenda, we ask that you please complete a sign-up sheet located at the entrance to this room. This is so we do not overlook anyone who would like to speak to the board. We will review the rules for addressing the board later in the meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to sign up to an agenda item and has not yet done so? Okay, no mad rush. This regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is authorized in accordance with Texas Government Code sections 551.001 through 551.146. Trustee Carol Harrell will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Before we begin, I would like to ask the troops that are in the audience, please stand up. Oh. Great, great. We're glad to have you with us. Okay, and if you could tell us what troop you're from, where that is, what area that's in, and what you're working on. Great. And where is your troop located? Near Alamo Ranch. Well, great. Well, we're glad to have you here, and hopefully it won't be a real late meeting. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Great. Well, we're really glad to have you all here. Thank you for being here. Okay, the first item on the agenda, I will spit this out, it's been a long day, is the public hearing, the 2016-17 Texas Academic Performance Report.
Yes, thank you,
Dr.
Ms.
Jordan.
Ms. Chumbley, Dr. Woods, the board, Texas Education Code, Chapter 39, requires each district to hold a hearing of the Texas Academic Performance Report, or as we refer to it, the TAPER. This report is available online, and copies can be made available upon request through the Communications Office. In addition to the public hearing, it's required that the Board of Trustees take action in approving each campus's performance objectives for the 2017-18 school year. This report and the campus performance objectives were presented to the Academics Committee for discussion back in January of this year. So to continue with the report, following are the components of the report that are required to be presented. The first component is the district's accreditation status, and as you saw from the previous slide, Northside has once again met standard, which means we're fully accredited. The remainder of the presentation will focus on the other components that you see listed. In terms of student enrollment, NISD grew by a total of 1,055 students from the previous year, bringing our 2017 enrollment to 105,492 students. With that said, ethnic distribution of both students and staff has remained similar over the last several years. In terms of teachers' years of experience, Northside ISD teachers have more years of experience in both the state and the region. In addition, NISD teachers have spent longer in our district than teachers have spent in their districts in the state and region. We are proud of the talent and the commitment and longevity of our professionals here in Northside and know for a fact that it makes a difference for our students. So not only are our teachers more experienced, they also have higher education levels. 33.5% of our teachers hold master's degrees compared to 28.9% from the region and 23.6% from the state. In terms of doctoral degrees, NISD is right in line with the state and region. In addition, the turnover rate of teachers in Northside is nearly 5% below the region and 6% below the state, which means NISD teachers come to Northside and they stay. Another high point, our teachers here in Northside earn higher salaries than their counterparts across the region and the state in every category, from beginning teachers to those who have over 20 years experience. In terms of percentage of administration compared to total district staff, NISD operates with a very lean administration staff at both the campus and district level than the rest of the region and the state. The next few slides are going to focus on Northside's academic achievement as it is shown through students' performance on STAR. So first slide you'll see is STAR reading. You'll see that students in Northside continue to outperform the state and the region in reading, as you see in this graph. This shows the percent of students who met at approaches or beyond for the 2016-17 performance standard. And this is for grades 3 through 8 reading and English 1 and English 2. Moving on to writing. This graph shows the percent met at approaches or higher in grades 4 and 7 writing. Our students continue to score higher than the region and state in grade 7 writing performance. Performance on the grade 4 STAR writing is above the regional average, but it's slightly under the state average. For 4th grade writing, the state had a pass rate of 65% and Northside's was 63%. Numerous interventions have been put in place to bolster performance, including increased walkthroughs in classrooms, finding a variety of instructional strategies, and professional learning. Next is STAR Mathematics. In grade 3 through 8 math and algebra 1, students in the district continue to exceed in the region and either exceeded or matched the performance at the state. In science, again, we test at grades 5, grades 8, and biology. Students once again outperform the state and the region. So to wrap up the tests, we have social studies, and again, that is in grade 8 in U.S. history. Again, Northside handily outperformed both the state and the region. So this next slide sums all of the tests, grades 3 through 8 and the high school tests. So you'll see the bars that show the content areas. So when all grade levels are summed for each content area, Northside outperforms the region and state in all content areas except writing, where it exceeds the region and matches the state performance. The previous slides showed student performance at the approaches level. This particular slide shows performance at a higher level, which is called meet standard. As you see, Northside outperforms the region and state at this higher standard in all areas except for math, where it exceeds the region and matches the state, and in writing, where it exceeds the region and is slightly below the state. Again, multiple measures are in place to focus on improvement in writing performance, especially at the fourth grade level. Finally, this is the percent of students who met the highest standard, which is considered advanced. The district outperforms or matches the state in most categories and is slightly below the state in math and writing. NISD continues to fare well by consistently outperforming all other districts in Region 20. So moving from academic achievement to attendance. Attendance rate in Northside continue to be excellent, and they're right in line with the state and the region. As with dropout rate, attendance rates are posted a year behind. NISD students and teachers shine in many ways, and the dropout rate is definitely one of them. With this data, the lower the number and the shorter the bar is a good thing. So you will see that NISD is well below the percentages of dropouts of both the state and the region. NISD has more students graduate, fewer students complete GEDs, and fewer students dropping out than the state and the region. Furthermore, our 4-year longitudinal graduation rate is considerably higher than the state and the region. To determine if graduates are college ready, the state uses certain criteria that include that students must meet or exceed performance on the TSI, on the SAT or ACT, and that required performance actually specifies a score of what students need to make. For the institution of higher education, which this is students who attend college or university, over half of Northside's graduates enrolled in a college or university, and increased the percentage of students who scored greater than a 2.0 average from 73% to 77% since last year. In terms of advanced placement, the number of students tested increased to 34.1%, while those who met the criteria, which is students have to score a 3, 4, or 5 on the exam, was at 42.5%. The great news is that the class of 2017 earned over 46,000 hours of college credit from advanced placement and dual credit, and that is a direct translation into big savings for students and their families. For SAT and ACT, Northside has been holding what is called an SAT school day since April of 2015, with the result being a greatly increased participation rate because they take the test on a school day at their campus. The maximum score possible on the SAT is 2,400, and on the ACT is 36. An additional required area to report is discipline data from PEAMS. This discipline report reflects all discipline incidences recorded in the disciplinary action record. It includes violent and criminal incidents as well as non-criminal incidents that are reflected in the Safe and Drug-Free Schools evaluations. The total number of discipline incidents decreased by 16% from last year, with decreases seen at each level, at elementary level, at middle school level, and at high school level. As you'll see here, the largest decrease was in the code of conduct incidents. This next slide shows incidents per 1,000 students. There was a notable drop in truancy infractions, and there were also decreases in every category since last year. Now moving on to one of the last pieces, which is the PEIMS Financial Standard Report. This report shows the total revenue as configured through various entities. Note that the local tax base funds the majority of the revenue as the state burden continues to decrease annually. The next slide shows the expenditures of the district, and as is typical, the predominant expenditure is within payroll, and for Northside that accounts for about 86% of the budget. Listed here are other areas of expenditure as the amount per student. Finally, we have the campus performance objectives, and those have been sent to you in Friday packet a few weeks ago. And it is the campus performance objectives that require approval. So at this time, I'm happy to entertain any questions and then ask for approval for the performance objectives.
Do any trustees have any questions? Dr. No?
No, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Yes, Dr. Harrell?
No, Academics Committee, the TAPER report was vetted through the committee, and we asked several questions, but really got an in-depth report on the areas of writing and math that needed additional attention and what the resources and practices and really what the plan was to help support that. And so Dr. Jordan's staff was incredibly thorough in detailing that to us as well.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Dr. Jordan, I had something, so what, because writing isn't just in Northside, it's on a state-wide decline. So what are the reasons behind that?
Well, you know, as we started analyzing our results, and then we're a member of something called the Urban Curriculum Council, which has about 25 large districts who participate of the curriculum folks. So we actually tackled this declining writing issue as a council. And through a whole variety of analyses and working with consultants, the switch in the test a few years back where the revision and editing portion weighs heavier and the preparation for students for that portion is very distinct and different than having them write the essay. So we actually found some information that we'd received from TEA that was describing that we needed to emphasize the essay versus the revision and editing. But once we unpack the test actually emphasizes the revision and editing. So as an Urban Curriculum Council, we began making shifts in our approach. Just to give an example, as Dr. Harrell mentioned, at academics, we talked very specifically about the improvement plan and all the pieces that we have. One thing that we did, given the emphasis on revision and editing, is this particular training that we've had several campuses who've chosen to take part and has made a real difference in their scores. That was a training that every fourth grade teacher got back when we had our professional development day in October. So what we did was go back to some practices that people were choosing to do that we know were directly impacting that part of the assessment. So it's our view, you know, really in Northside, and as an Urban Curriculum Council, we don't think students are writing less well. We think it's as much of a result of how they're being assessed and how it's being scored.
Well, the training that you did, what were the specifics that it pointed to or addressed in relation to student writing?
It was directly, the training actually is called Grammar Matters, and the content of it is directly impacts the particular skills that are tested in that section. It's really good stuff, and it's things that we'd had some campuses kind of do on their own, and that became now something we did.
Like what's an
District-wide.
example?
Well, it would have students, the revision and editing is not students writing or creating anything. What they're doing is they're analyzing something that's already written to find mistakes in syntax, mistakes in grammar, that kind
Spelling?
of thing. It would have spelling, yes, it would have spelling as well. So whereas we know as writers, and I know as a former English teacher, what is hugely valuable as a writer is to write. And we believe in the writer's workshop and all of those things. So we want to continue doing those things to encourage writers. However, if we do not intentionally prepare them to look at something that's already written with those mistakes in it, then them going through the writer's workshop is not going to prepare them for that mode of testing.
Let me ask you, because I was reading an article about some of the schools in California where parents, and this is a while back, I was reading this, where parents had requested technology be removed from their campuses. And part of the argument, and I remember being in a middle school lab, standing over students writing, and their spelling was really atrocious. And I asked the teacher about it, and the teacher said, well, we have spell check. And that is, I mean, we use that, I mean, that's used everywhere. That's used in corporate business, and it's used in all of our schools. Our teachers use it. But I'm just wondering, and then also I think that spell check can also check grammar and punctuation. So I'm just wondering how much of that is impacting, because when they now have a paragraph that they have to correct, they don't have a spell check to do that. And I don't know, it's just something that's been bugging me, that I've been wondering if that's something that we should talk about at some point. Technology is great, but it's when you use it where you lose your basic skills. I always tell my kids, if GPS were to one day disappear, they'd never find where they were going because they don't know how to read a map. I don't know, it's just, that, yeah, that's right. I need a Boy Scout. That is true. But, you know, it was just, anyway. So I was just wondering if anyone had looked at, is that impacting students' ability to write? Because you look at this, and it's a statewide issue. It's not just, you know, I don't know.
We have had conversations about the impact of social media and texting, because when you think about, you don't use any grammar, students don't. Use the grammar rules of capitalization, punctuation, spelling, its abbreviation, and very quick. And we definitely do think that that has an impact, which means even more that we've got to put some focused effort in ensuring that they can do what the test calls them to do.
Well, just so no one thinks it's Northside, I had to proofread a letter from a teammate that was sending to one of our execs, and it's just what you said. I wasn't punctuated because you don't punctuate when you're texting. Anyway, I thought it was interesting that young adults are doing that as well. So
just one comment to close this, and that is that that anybody who has done a significant amount of writing knows that the most effective way to learn to write well is to write your own material,
Right.
revise and edit your own material, and then rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. And one of the things that really bothers me about the way that we're assessing writing in our state is that we're really not emphasizing that organic writing process. We're doing something that fits well into a standardized test. And that, of course, doesn't just apply to writing in our state. That applies to a lot of things in our state. But I just want to make that comment that we'll adjust because the test essentially forces our hand to adjust, but we're not adjusting because we necessarily think it's the best thing for kids. We're adjusting because that's the way the test is. So we're going to try to do both those things in Northside. But that to me is disappointing, and it's the test driving curriculum rather than curriculum driving the test. And that is inappropriate.
Well said. We do need a motion to come before the board. What we are approving is the campus performance objectives. Dr. Harrell?
I move that we approve the 16-17 taper campus performance objectives as presented in our board book, but also tonight.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 16-17 taper campus performance objectives. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item of business on the agenda is superintendent's report.
I promise I will not have a soapbox speech on testing. So I did want to make some comments to the board, and I feel like it's disingenuous to stand up in front of a group of parents and staff and students and not make some comments around school safety. That is certainly on all of our minds. Anybody who's associated with school, that is on all of our minds. And I know that I feel comfortable saying that all of us grieve the situation that happened most recently in Florida. In our system, we look at school safety really with kind of three legs to the stool. People is certainly one of those legs, and this board has been very generous over the years in your support of the people who are directly tied to safety in our schools. Procedures is obviously a big part, and that includes training and what do those people know? What do people know to do in the right situations? And then finally, facilities. And what can we do to and with a facility in order to make that facility more safe for students and our staff? And while that is always high on our mind, certainly these tragedies bring that front of mind, and we are reviewing all three legs of that stool to ensure that we're providing the greatest amount of safety that we can to our students and our staff. Just thought that needed to be addressed. And hate to start on a somber note, but thought that was important to say. So I'm going to switch from that and talk about some really great things. Very recently, we had a hugely successful Gerlach Stock Show, and I suspect a member of the board may want to add some specifics to that. But I'll just say I was very pleased, as always, to be there and see the incredible outpouring of community support. We had many students, and I think you're going to see some of these in our video moment tonight. Students qualify for state, regional, and state competition in swimming and diving, a number of students. We have a number of schools participating in regional robotics. We have 18 teams representing 16 elementaries and 11 teams representing 7 middle schools who actually compete this coming Saturday in the regional robotics tournament. We had a great PTA Founders Day. I want to thank our Council of PTAs, who is so supportive of what we do in our district and our school, our Fine Arts Department, and Mr. Michalka is here somewhere, and Warren Principal Valerie Sisk and her staff for putting on a fantastic celebration of the partnership that exists between PTA and our schools. As members of the board know, we recently had our mid-year graduation, and while we celebrate for all of those graduates, I wanted to point out one in particular who is a custodian in Northside who actually completed his GED through a program that we have had in our district for many, many years called Learn and Earn, where folks in our custodial group can get support, get a GED, and then be able to promote in that department. And I know Mr. San Miguel and his folks have been very supportive of that. It really touched my heart that night to see that gentleman walk the stage and receive his GED. And in the area to congratulate him were his assistant director, his director, and his assistant superintendent, all there to congratulate him as he walked the stage that night.
That's
Really,
neat.
really neat. I want to congratulate students from Warren and Marshall who participated in state academic decathlon this past weekend, won several medals between those two teams. I also want to recognize our Special Olympians. Special Olympics is all this week. I think not today, unfortunately, because of weather, but otherwise all this week. And if you have not seen a Special Olympics event, you have missed out on the full educational experience. That is a fantastic experience, and I would encourage anybody to go and see that and be a part of that. Upcoming events, as I mentioned, busy rest of the week. We have the Evers 25th anniversary celebration is actually tomorrow Tomorrow night, Saturday, we have robotics, as I mentioned, and Los Leones, our student art celebration, which is actually held at Marshall High School. Los Leones began as a visual arts event and has grown as we were moved to Marshall, and we're able to really spread out and expand into a complete fine arts experience with visual arts as well, performing arts as well as visual arts. And the day concludes around, 2 o'clock? James, help me out. Chalk Fest around 2 o'clock, and that's another, the whole thing is worth seeing. If you haven't seen Chalk Fest with the kids actually doing the work, it is fantastic. I would highly recommend that. The only other thing I would add is that bond presentations have actually begun. Done a couple so far and have a couple more scheduled here coming up, but they will begin in earnest after spring break, and we'll be out in the community doing, I think we have around 260 meetings on the books so far to talk about Bond 2018. So I'll wrap up with our video moment. Tonight's video moment highlights foldable microscopes at Ross, budding journalists at Boone Elementary, and 2 words character development presentation for our middle school and high school athletes.
Getting up close and scientific at one Northside Middle School. Our athletes are speaking 2 words, and some budding journalists in the making. We'll show you where you can read all about it. I'm Christina Eckert, and this is Northside.
So this is your microscope. When you are looking at something, you can move it left and right.
These 7th graders at Sul Ross Middle School are folding and molding to create microscopes called fold scopes.
Do we see it? Yes. Okay.
These personal, lightweight, portable microscopes were designed by Stanford College students. Science teacher Monica Gomez knew this would be the perfect project for her class. Fold scopes allow students to take these microscopes wherever they go and create their own slides of almost anything they find, hopefully increasing their love of science and learning.
I am a science geek. I love science. It's my passion.
How we're able to make our own slides and take it everywhere without basically having to carry the big old microscope that we normally use.
Yeah, so what do you think about it so far?
Pretty cool.
The students can also use their phones with the fold scopes and capture pictures and video from what they see. Over the next few weeks, students will take a close look at onion and water cells, along with cells from inside their mouths. Athletes across Northside are using 2 words. Stephen Mackey kicked off the character development program across the district. Each week, the program focuses on a different character trait with lessons and tools for athletes, coaches, and parents.
What we want to do is establish this foundation of character that is going to allow athletes to use their influence for others, but is also going to allow them to take the talent that the incredible coaches across the district are building in these athletes, they're cultivating, and they're going to have something for it to be built upon.
What was your favorite thing about learning between the first day of school and now?
And read all about it in the new Boone Inquirer. Boone Elementary School recently started a journalism club so students can write, edit, and publish
Do you think the 100th day of school is special?
their own school newspaper. They focus on events going on around school, like the 100th day of class. It gives the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders the opportunity to learn more than just writing.
They love the interviewing part. They love getting to meet other kids and more than they would normally outside of their class and look for things to write about.
Students have published 1 edition so far and hope to have the next one out around spring break. The Inquirer includes articles, photographs, comics, and even a movie review.
I really like it because I get to interview a bunch of different people, and I can see with their questions I can actually see what they're saying and how they react to when I ask that question, so it's kind of funny.
I think it's cool because you can you could write your own article and stuff, and you could hang out with friends at the same time, and it's just really cool. I think that it's really fun to do, and that you can learn a lot of information from doing it.
That's a look at what's going on around the district this week. Thanks for joining us for This is Northside.
Northside, San Antonio's premier school district of choice.
So I will not add to that because ending with 4th graders talking about what they like to do is about the best way we can end. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Do any trustees have anything, Any trustees have any board reports? Mr. Medina?
Just real quickly, I just wanted to catch up on the Northside Education Foundation. We met last week going over their accomplishments. Though the campaign was postponed due to the Hurricane Harvey efforts and fundraising, we were ultimately successful. Grand Prize Innovation, Grand Prize totaled out. Grants totaling up to $95,000 went out to students and teachers in classrooms, and so that was a great success. Also, just to also bring more light to the Northside Education Foundation, it is still ranked within the top 50 foundations nationally, and among the largest school districts by student population. Northside ISD ranks number 25, and so again, it's continuing to thrive because of teachers, the community members, those that are involved in student learning. And I just wanted to catch up on Northside Education Foundation.
Great, thank you. Dr. Harrell?
Thank you. You know, it's a shame that I love when Janice was presenting the TAPER report because there's a lot of pride in you know, what our teachers have obtained and that we are retaining them and how well our students have performed on STAR. But it's always much more wonderful to hear about all the neat things that we get to see and do and hear about. And so I know you're going to have to bear with us to kind of share, but there's just incredible things that aren't measured on a test or in a numerical way, and you've already heard a few, so here I go. Sunday, the second year that they had an ag mechanics program in Bexar County, and now it's statewide, Clark High School, of all the schools that entered in Texas, won for the Ag Mechanics Award. And in talking to these three, it was two young men and one young lady, they handmade the metal pieces that formed a table from scratch. And the rules are that you have to make something out of metal, right, Melissa? Melissa was there. And the only thing they didn't make from scratch, they said, was the wood because it came from a tree, which was the tabletop. But it was beautiful how they polished the wood and made it shine. But it went for $11,000, I think $750. Urban Concrete voted a bid on it. And so that was incredible. And so somebody's got a really nice table in their house. But I was so proud. But I was so proud of how confident they were when they were talking about the table and how they made it. And boy, they used technology too to do it. So it's where everything came together. What they did at school during the day, what they did after school, what they did with their hands, what they did with it. Anyway, you all should be very proud. The day before was a library palooza where we had authors from all over the United States come, and already two have tweeted back that it was so inspirational for me, well, they would say for me, coming and meeting your students and your teachers and your librarians. And I don't know of anyone that I've ever worked with or I've seen in Texas do it quite to the degree of this. And our students were blown away and they asked such wise questions. And so again, I just kind of stand in awe and listen to them and applaud our teacher for pulling it together. Friday there was an event at Beard Elementary, Festival of Nations, where the families hosted a get-together in the gym and in the cafeteria, and they had games and dancing and food from all these different nations, costumes. The kids were all dressed up. It was beautiful, but it was families with families and teachers and kids, and again, kids just laughing and playing. I know Dr. Woods, you were there, and they just had a great time. So they were learning about life in other countries, but yet how they come together, kind of like a United Nations at Beard Elementary. Let's see, you said Special Olympics. The Friday before, it was the state music educators. Thank you, TMEA. And one of our elementary schools, Morelos Elementary, had the Noteworthy Orff Ensemble. And they were asked to perform. And so I can say this because I can say it. The group before them was good, but when Morelos went up there, oh my gosh, it was heart-stopping. They were phenomenal. I wish we would have filmed them for y'all to see. Again, they were confident and they were so talented and they were so excited to perform with state's top educators were there. James, you must have been so proud. You were sitting front row and just beaming. But I got to go with Margaret Morelos, who the school is named for her husband, Judge Annie Morelos, who was a great man and a great advocate for Northside. We had a hard time talking. And we went to go pay for a car because we had to have it valeted because we were late and couldn't find parking. And it was like $35, and we both turned and looked at each other, and they go, it was worth it. That was priceless. So we were so proud of our Morelos kids. And they were 5th grade, right, James? And they don't do this during the day. They do this before school and after school. Yeah, so and ORF is really, really challenging and hard to do, but they were experts. Library Police. Oh, Leon Springs had their boot scoot. They've had it for the past, I don't know how many years, 10, 15 years? Were you there and they had boot scoot? Pancakes, dancing, art, the kids and families again. It was crowded. You got to go? It was wonderful. It was on a Saturday morning, and they defied the rain. And so hats off to Leon Springs for doing that incredible community event. Founders Day, and it was a point of pride to be, we met with our city councilmen, where the city councilmen and women were sitting around a table and the superintendents were invited, and they were hearing, probably it seemed like for the first time, the impact of property taxes going up, and yet very few of the property, or a low percentage of property taxes actually go for funding public schools, and then how the decrease in funding from the state has been impacting us every year. And so, but the point of pride part was that Dr. Woods was the only superintendent to really tackle that with the city councilmen and women. And so they actually want to kind of link arms and work on this with our legislators because they get a lot of complaints about property taxes going up and weren't quite sure where they were going, and were surprised that they weren't funding public ed like they should. So anyway, and that, last one, I promise. So the Olympics is over, and we did have a Northside graduate participant. Olson was in 2-man, 4-man bobsled. He had been a quarterback at O'Connor High School and gone to the Air Force Academy, but he did Northside proud. Did not place, but got in the middle of halfway between, the top performers and the lower performers, but actually just to be there was a point of pride for all of us. So anyway, and that is it. I promise, Ms. Chumbley.
Thank you. Ms. Reed?
Thank you. Speaking of Justin Olson, he also had appendectomy surgery the week before he had to be on that sled. And I don't know how he managed to do that and run and push and jump into that sled like he did. So it was, they gave him a lot of credit for it. I just kept wishing they would have said, he's from Northside School District. Obviously, I did not go to as many things as Dr. Harl did because I was out of town most of that time. But I was at the Library Palooza last Saturday morning. I didn't see you there. You must have been there after I was there. And I was amazed by the authors that were there and how they interacted with the kids and what they thought of this event, because there's nothing like it any place around. It's one of a kind, and they were really pleased to be there. I visited with them at the breakfast that morning and was there for the early session. Just wanted to share a little bit about attending also the Mexican American School Board Alliance meetings that were here for the state last weekend. Mr. Lopez and I were both there and attended a number of the sessions. He'll talk a little bit more about it, but I was very delighted that I was actually able to be there for when Henry Cisneros was the guest speaker at the luncheon on the last day. And he is remarkable, and the information that he presents to the audience is just wonderful. And I've known him for a long time. He was really nice and introduced me, actually, and said I had been there for 27 years. So it was a really nice event, and that's an organization that has grown over the years. Last year when they had their conference, they only had like 120 people. They had over 300 this year. So it is growing, and lots of people are attending and sharing information, and I think it is a worthwhile organization to be involved with. It was a busy Saturday. I went from one to the other, and the last event I went to was the super quiz for the academic decathlon, which was also interesting. So I tried to make up a bit of my absences while I was gone on a vacation. So Northside always does remarkable things, and it's just great to be a part of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I'm just going to ditto for what Carol has said. Great job on describing all those events, and they really were great. I went to part of them. The one important one about the city, I think that was really great. So, the way you explained that was very good. Kind of to touch base on what Katie was talking about with the Mexican American School Board Associations, it was really interesting. It was my first time being able to attend that as a board member, but it was really great to see that they had some great topics about, and these are education credits that we have to receive as board members, and we go and listen to presenters, and they talk about different subjects and things that we need to know and kind of, inform us on what's happening out in the state, in the district, and in the nation as well. And one of the topics that I thought that was very interesting, which was really a good thing to hear, good thing to see as far as best practices. It wasn't really a topic, but it was more of a tour. And what we did get to see was we got on the bus and we went to Harlandale, and we saw one of their campuses there, and all the great things that they're doing there at the campus having to do with science and technology and the STEM program. It was really great to see what they were doing. The children are accomplishing, and they're exceeding expectations, and they're graduating with course credits, college credits. It's just really fascinating to see that. And so, my hat goes off to Harlandale and their academy there and what they're doing to invest in education for their kids there. Then we got to go to Southwest ISD, and we got to see their new campus, and we saw all the good things that they were doing having to do with film production. And again, they've got an excellent, and in fact, when we had lunch there, they had an excellent mariachi group. They were award-winning, and in fact, they were just heading over to Edinburgh, I believe, for the UIL competition for the state. So it was really good to see them out there and perform for us, and all the board members were really excited when they came in. So, when you have mariachis, it's always good. They liven up the place, so it was really nice. Finally, our last tour, we were greeted by Dr. Woods and our trustee Bobby Blunt, and they talked about, we were at Holmes High School, and they talked about the fine arts. They talked about district-wide, the achievements we're doing. So what it did is it gave me a good sense that here in San Antonio and Bexar County, all our campuses, all our districts are doing great things with all our kids. And so it's just really disheartening to hear all the stuff coming from the state when I see all of this. So it reassured me that we were on the right track as districts, and all of our districts, and no matter north side, northeast. So it was good. So I had to tell you guys that because I really enjoyed that tour. The organization, the training there was great. There were some lessons I could take from, but it was really good. Other than that, it was great. Of course, Henry Cisneros was a great speaker, very inspirational, and so it was really good to see him there. I do have to say one thing, and I want to make a quick comment. I was able to do the the 25th anniversary for McDermott Elementary School, and no, elementary school, and I was so impressed with their program. But I was more impressed with their student class president. His name was Humberto Sanchez, and this gentleman, you should have seen him. He was dressed from top to bottom. He had a nice suit, nice tie. He had a nice little handkerchief, and he did great. He was I guess he was doing the speech with the teacher, and he was like, you could tell this was a future politician. And so I asked him, I said, Humberto, what are you going to do? He goes, what? I said, what are your plans? He goes, I want to be an astronaut. And I said, man, you go for it. You do it. You're on your way.
Best astronaut.
But it was just so impressive. I was so impressed with him. And then it kind of even made me feel here's where I kind of got tickled, but it was like, he said, hey, can I do a selfie with you? And I was like, okay, well, I've never had a selfie. My kids don't even want to take pictures with me. So I was like, so he goes like that. So there I am. I was all excited. I felt like I was a star. He made me feel special. And I just want to tell him thank you. Thank you to the administrators there at McDermott. Thank you, Humberto Sanchez, for really making me feel special. And he did a great job. And I was glad to be there to celebrate, McDermott Elementary School. It was a great thing. And so that's all I have to say.
Great. Mr. Blunt?
I'm gonna do a little bit of fast version. Real quick, two thanks and then one announcement also. I do want to thank Dr. Woods. He put together the A-team for MASBA, Mexican American School Board Association's visit. I mean, it was really outstanding. He took the leadership on himself to make sure that was really a top-notch site visit. So thanks, Dr. Woods, for that. The other one I do want to thank is our Northside High and Middle School Science. They put in their own time to host the national regional competition for Department of Energy National Science Book Competition, which featured the best in this area in charter, private, and public schools. And Northside runs that event to the benefit of all kids. And again, this is on their own time. I don't know how many hundreds of hours they put in, but really appreciate them hosting that and then having our regionals go on to nationals. And the last one I had for announcement, and hopefully everybody's going to be able to participate at elementary school on March 8th. That's our big Heroes for Health event that Go Public and our school board, local school board trustees in the Bexar County area with the support of our superintendents and staff. We'll be at over 280, they'll be at over 280 elementary schools, and the San Antonio Fire Department, the San Antonio Police Department, the sheriff, the constables, and the military from Lackland and Fort Sam have got more support than we've ever had in the past. They are really pulling, it's amazing the last couple of days of how much support they're going to give. For the districts that may not have a hero there, they're going to take care of that. And then we're fortunate in Northside, we have our police and others that have filled in too. So that's going to be a great day on March 8th at 10 a.m. at all 280 elementary schools where they promote health and fitness and exercise with the kids. So looking forward to it.
That is great. So any campus we want to go to?
Any campus. If you need one, give me the list. I'll tell you who'll be there. But yeah, we should be at every single campus, all 280 on one day.
That is great. All right, I just have a couple of things. Bobby, thank you because you were the driving force behind the Heroes for Health, and we appreciate that, among many other things as well. But thank you for doing that. I've been out. I was in Washington, D.C., and then I got hung up at work, not surprising, and I want to thank trustees for stepping in and taking over some of my speaking responsibilities. Carol, thank you on a very last minute to jump in to bring remarks from the board for Founders Day. I appreciate that very much that you did that because that was really short notice, and I apologize, but thank you for doing that. And Gerald, I have heard just amazing things about your remarks for mid-year graduation and McDermott. So thank you very much for taking care of that responsibility for me. So I went to the NSBA Advocacy Institute in Washington, D.C., and I've got lots of stuff to share with all of y'all. But I will tell you, from having been there maybe 10 years ago, the feel of Washington is absolutely as awful as what you hear about. I remember before where we always had a good mix of Democrats and Republicans that would come together to meet and speak to this group, and that was not what happened this time. They really don't like each other, and it's very, very frightening, though, that to see that. I mean, they really will speak to a group and say, I don't like them. And if it comes from a Republican's mouth, I'm immediately against it. And if it comes from a Democrat's mouth, I am immediately against it. And that is probably, to me, one of the most frightening things that I have seen. And I came away from it with a very good experience. I met with both of the senators, Texas senators, and their staff, and most of our congressmen. And I'm going to tell you, a young man, and I probably shouldn't be saying political things, but Carol, following you, I'm going to. Will Hurd, whether you're Republican or Democrat, Will Hurd is truly an amazing congressman. And he has put forth a DACA bill that takes all of the argument out from both sides. And I doubt it will get past the floor. But it truly is an amazing bill. And he partnered with Congressman Aguilar. And I've just, he really, and he's a very, very strong proponent of public education, and he's a strong proponent of Northside. And it was just a really great time to visit with him.
He's an outstanding graduate from Northside.
And he is an outstanding Northside graduate as well. So I will bring more information, though. I've got lots of, information on upcoming bills that they are looking at. And I picked one or two of the NISD. I've gone completely blank.
Legislative
Legislative. Thank you, Brian. See, you always know. It's like having an extra husband. He can finish my remarks. I think I've been here too long when that happens. But the legislative priorities. So I will share those later. And then the one thing that I'm extremely excited to tell all of you is that the Walter Girl Livestock Show, for its 45th anniversary, broke $1 million sale. So, yes, thank you. It is absolutely amazing.
That's a lot of college education for kids right there.
It is. $1,029,000 was the sale, and it's our 45th anniversary, and it truly was amazing. We sold about 335 lots, and I want to thank Dr. Jordan and Mr. San Miguel, and of course Dr. Woods, and the other trustees, Gerald, Katie, and Karen that came that day. And throughout the week, we had Barry came and other administrators, so I just wanted to thank everyone for the support of the stock show. It really makes a true difference. And the kids see it, and they talk about it, and they see, they see people that are here that are out there watching them, and the coaches and staff from throughout the school district, not just O'Connor. And so I just want to thank everyone, but it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really exciting. Okay, so I think that's it. So thank all of you for letting us talk to each other, because this is the one time that we get to catch up on what everyone is doing. The next item of business on the agenda is a good part of our meeting where we get to recognize Salvador Reginaldo. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, so I apologize. Dr. Jordan? Good, and if all the board would be in front, please. Melissa, did you go see the head of the education department?
As you guys are coming forward, I'll go ahead and begin. I'm Janice Jordan, Deputy Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. It is my pleasure to introduce Salvatore Reginaldo, a Spanish teacher at Clark High School. He was named the 2018 College Board Southwestern Region Award winner. He was selected based on his commitment to his students and his diligent work with the College Board. Sal has worked at NISD since 2002 and has served as an AP reader for the College Board for the last 9 years. He's become a leader among his peers by facilitating lots of presentations. I know we had you at Engagement Academy and any place we can get you. You've earned the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese Scholarship, and you're a member of the Texas Foreign Language Association since 2012. You were featured in the 16-17 academic year in the Region Service Center World Language Conference on incorporating technology in the foreign language classroom. Sal does not believe learning should be confined to the classroom, hence has led numerous student tour groups to Europe, making your classroom truly global. He takes an active part in the education and well-being of all of his students at Clark. This is demonstrated by the clubs and contests he sponsors, and in a short period of time, Sal has made the AP Spanish language courses at Clark High School triple in size. With all this, you can certainly see why he's being honored tonight. So it is my pleasure to present for board recognition, Sal Reginaldo. And I believe, do you have some family here, Sal? If you would stand so we can recognize you, yes. Gonna get a photo op?
And also I'd like to recognize Dr. Woods, the principal at Clark.
Yes.
Always support my department chair at Clark. And also Mrs. Rosana Perez, the specialist here for international languages.
Yes.
And Lisa Cannell, also for supporting me. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
And of course my wife for not complaining for the long hours.
Just take her to Europe. It's all good.
Great support as well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Put him in the middle.
There you go. Stop. One more. Okay. This concludes our recognitions.
I'm already wondering, learn a little language. Good stuff.
Yes. Okay, the next item of business on the agenda is the consent agenda. Before we begin, I have been lax. I wanted to let the board know that Karen is not with us this evening because she's in Hawaii. Gosh, that was a tough decision for her to make on where to be. Anyway, she will be back for our meetings later in the month.
Better come back with some.
Did you announce last meeting that I was in Costa Rica?
Oh, that's right.
No, because it was a called meeting. And Katie, there was only about 4 people that was here, so. Okay, so the next item of business is the consent agenda. Do any trustees have any items that they would like to remove or that they would like to discuss? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to come for the board?
Go ahead.
Gerald, I'm sorry.
I move that we
Katie?
approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. James, I was looking to see why you were here with us this evening, and I know it's the uniforms, and I wanted to tell you, I know that we have moved to the digital age, but I really miss seeing the kids in their uniforms when you used to bring them to before the board. That was always nice to see them. All right, Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay, the next item of business on the agenda is citizens to be heard. And before we begin, I need to read the rules about addressing the board. Okay. We believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. Please use the podium, address your remarks to the board, confine your remarks to an NISD policy or practice, limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, the board secretary, Mr. Lopez, will hold up the yellow card. At 3 minutes, the board secretary will hold up the red card. We ask that you wrap up your remarks at that point. We respectfully ask that you refrain from making personal attacks or rude or slanderous remarks. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments, and refrain from saying or doing anything to disrupt the meeting. In addition, while it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you may be held legally responsible. Mr. Lopez, if you
Yes.
would call the first person.
Yes, we have Jerry Ross.
I just want you to know that I wrote, rewrote, edited,
And it should be 3 minutes, but if I go like a couple of seconds over.
Well, and you don't have to stop immediately, just when you see the red, if you'll start wrapping up your remarks.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jerry Ross. I teach art at Valley High Elementary School by Lackland Air Force Base. I speak to you tonight about school safety. Since I began teaching 6 years ago, Valley High has experienced 2 real-life lockdowns and 1 modified lockdown. My principal last week, Andrew Morris, mentioned the Florida mass killing. He asked teachers and staff to be there for concerned families. He also brought us a message from central office that we are discouraged from being political on social media in a way that brings attention to NISD, especially during school hours because of certain litigation. I get that we must not use our school time to promote partisan or divisive issues or candidates. The state has left districts and teachers in an untenable position. No industry is affected by gun violence the way that schools are. For the first time, I worry and ask myself tough questions. The subject is on the minds of my colleagues, and discussions happen daily where teachers gather. I read an article in Education Week by Madeline Will entitled, "I Worry Every Day, Lockdown Drills Prompt Fear, Self-Reflection After School Shooting." Ms. Will describes the lockdown drill and says that there is now support for what's called multi-option training, where students are trained to run in zigzag patterns, military style, to be active. Ms. Will also speaks of heroism and the idea of taking a bullet. Most teachers would instinctively stand between students and attackers, but we shouldn't have to make that choice. How many students can we protect with just one back? We have families. These ideas produce anxiety in all of us. And I just learned there is 1 officer for every 8 schools. Diane Ravitch heads the Network for Public Education in support of public schools. She is calling for a national protest against gun violence in schools on April 20th, the anniversary of Columbine. We can't just walk out in a right-to-work state, so I asked my administration and my PTA board about joining this protest. I made the case that we should seek community support regarding our safety. The board decided that any awareness we bring to the issue might be seen as political by central office, or would be so benign as to obscure the point. I asked AFT their position on expectations of teachers regarding school safety. They are satisfied with Dr. Wood's statements and that NISD is doing what it can to protect all of us. So here we sit, effectively muzzled, or else with disparate, ineffective, shrill voices. We can't remain quiet when lives may be on the line. The only way we will have influence is by uniting to amplify our voices. I am asking you to please find a way for our district to participate in the MPE's protest. Give us guidelines. School safety is not a partisan issue. It's not political. It is essential. If addressed openly, it will bring us together with one strong voice. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate that we support and appreciated your comments. But guys, I need to ask the audience to please not clap, not applaud. Thank you. The next person?
Joyce M. St. John.
Good evening. I'm a former school administrator. I spent many days in school board meetings, so this is the first time since I retired that I've been back at a school board meeting. I'm here this evening for the same reason this lovely, oh, I'm sorry. It didn't work right. I'm coming because I want to make sure that, I'm going to do it without it, I'll just have to do it from the top of my head. And over social media, there are a lot of comments going on about school boards and superintendents making comments that students that participate in the walkout are going to be punished. They're going to be suspended from school for 3 days. And I'd like to tell you that since I have 5 grandchildren right now, my 2 children attended Northside. If any of my 5 grandchildren wanted and felt compelled to be part of a national walkout for public safety, for gun control, I would like to think that Northside is above the punishment idea of punishing our students. I would like to hope that there already is a consequence. If you skip school, you are responsible for that day of skipping. That is probably sufficient without punishing our children. And the other part that I looked at as I read all of these school districts that are doing all of this, I thought, wow, you're really killing your ADA. Because if you suspend children from school, every child that is out of school is going to ruin your ADA. So it's just that old, it's school administrator in me that says that. The second part that I want to talk about is the school safety part. On March 31st, 2001, I was the administrator in charge of Emma Fry Elementary School. Across the street from the elementary school on San Eduardo, there was a woman who was leaving her husband because he was abusive. And the father, a police officer came to help her to leave. Family members came to help her to leave. And the father came home and he shot and killed this young mother and a police officer. He came out with a gun to shoot the family members. I was out front that day. He went back inside and got an AK-47 and started shooting into the school. Now, what I want to tell you about this is I knew my school was not safe, that there was no way for me as a school administrator to protect that school and to protect every child. So in the course of our faculty meetings, we sat down and said, how safe do you feel if we ever had a problem? And they said, not safe. We spent our faculty meetings coming up with a plan that we wrote out. And as much as Dan Patrick wants to have school plans for the district that have to be handed in, those are not the pieces that are going to work. The piece that's going to work for all of us is when the principals and all of their faculty sit down and make the plan themselves. We were successful at keeping our school safe because we all knew exactly what to do. And when the time came, we did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Glamon.
Good evening. My name is Gary Glassman. My wife Sue and I are proud parents of a son who graduated from Taft High School and another who is currently a sophomore at Harlan High School. As you all are certainly aware, a week ago today, we had a threat against our school by a current student. We were informed that the threat was not found to be credible. That report came from our principal in a timely manner. Nonetheless, we appreciated the fact that the response was very professional, both from the administration, from the campus police, as well as local law enforcement, and we appreciate them being present on the campus throughout the day. We felt very safe sending our son to school last Tuesday. As you also are undoubtedly aware, there were parents who did not, including some that I spoke with. So I appreciate the comments that have been made. It's a sad situation that we have to live with, but I can tell you that parents feel like they're not getting enough information. I know Dr. Woods, believe you published some remarks, statement after the shooting, and if I'm not mistaken, you referred to facilities as being one of the cornerstones of safety, and I believe you reported some activity being done on that front on the elementary schools. I certainly appreciate that the challenges, particularly with facilities, are different in a high school than they are in elementary schools. Bigger campus, multiple entrances. I guess my question is this, or my comment perhaps is this. There are a lot of students and parents who would really be interested to know what specific activities you're undertaking, whether it's research, whatever information gathering and assessment you're doing to make our schools more safe from a facility perspective. And we appreciate any information that you might be able to share with us on that front. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph A. Cook.
I'm here to request Spanish dual language curriculum access for my son and his classmates who will be in first grade next year. Specifically, I request a dual language first grade curriculum at Blackman Elementary, his school. My name is Joseph Cook. I'm the father of Christian Cook, a current kindergarten student at Blackman Elementary. Christian's mother and I were pleased to move to San Antonio and make it our permanent home. We were eager for the exciting opportunity for our son to learn the Spanish language in the Northside ISD. In anticipation of his matriculation, we paid for a private Spanish immersion toddler school for 2 years prior to kindergarten at Blackman. For kindergarten, my son had to enter a lottery system to request entry into a dual language program that is not at Blackman. Out of 4 priority levels, he was priority level 3. He was not chosen. Regardless, commuting to another school is not an option for our family. My son is 6 years old and should not be required to commute to another public school, whether it is by car or bus. He is a military son and shouldn't have to adjust to different schools more than necessary. Christian's mother and I are greatly disappointed that Blackman Elementary does not offer a dual language program. Our dismay cannot be adequately conveyed to you. Alamo Heights has 2 elementary schools, both offer dual language. San Antonio ISD has 40 elementary schools, 13 offer dual language, 33% of its schools. Northeast ISD has 46 elementary schools, 15 offer it for 33% of its schools. Northside ISD has 78 elementary schools, only 6 offer dual language, 8% of its schools. Our taxes are commensurate with Northeast ISD and Alamo Heights, but our son is not offered the same educational opportunities as other children in the same city. My son's progress in the Spanish language is terminated since his enrollment in the Northside ISD school system. It should be an obvious concern that since our son will not be one of the 45 million Spanish speakers in the United States, many future job opportunities will not be an option for him. It is unfortunate that the Northside ISD public school system will inhibit his Spanish language growth when he is so eager to pursue it. Regarding Blackman Elementary, we are thrilled with this English language curriculum and are very pleased with this progress. However, had we known in advance that our son would not be in a dual language program at Blackman, we would have reconsidered our decision to move within the Northside ISD. and that will be our advice to incoming parents. Starting a dual language program at Blackman after next school year will be too late for my son. My understanding is that he will no longer be eligible for the program once he enters second grade. I request a dual language first grade curriculum at Blackman Elementary for the benefit of his students and for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan Cruz.
Hi, my name is Megan Cruz, and I am a parent of four Northside students. I have been pleased with the educational opportunities that my children have received at Northside for 13 years. I've also been a teacher in the district as well as a substitute. I believe 100% in the programs that Northside offers. I believe that the security and the protection that our students receive in Northside is 100% top priority. Unfortunately, at my kids' elementary school, and I know many of you are aware, there is a situation with an allegation against a teacher that Northside has investigated. I am concerned that the safety of our students continue to be put in jeopardy with use of online social media, threats of protest, and a call out to people to harass the school. I would like to speak on behalf of many parents of Carson Elementary that know this said teacher, that have said he's the first one to be there to stand up for a kid. He is the one to give lunch money to a child when they forgot their lunch. If there's a program they want to participate in and their parents cannot afford to, he's by their side. A mom called me and informed me that her son's dad is overseas and he's been struggling with that. And this teacher has gone beside him and supported him and taught him and filled in that gap because the teacher has a heart of gold. The pillars that Northside stands on, character and ethics. This said teacher has that. I have worked professionally side by side with the teacher as well as a parent in the classroom for 10 years, as well as a member of the PTA board. And I am concerned that our children's education is being interrupted because the situation that has been investigated and dealt with continues to be brought public. And I would just like to ask for support with Northside just to protect our students in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Lou Casillas Garza. Mary Lou Garza.
Good evening. My name is Mary Lou Casillas Garza, and I'm a parent of 4 students, 4 daughters that I have attended NISD schools. I have also been an educator and an administrator for over 16 years here in the state of Texas. And I'm here to make everyone aware of a situation that has occurred at one of our elementary schools in our district. There has been an allegation made by a student of teacher misconduct, and NISD has conducted their own investigation. And after the teacher was placed on administrative leave, he was allowed to return after the NISD investigation was concluded. For various reasons, the NISD investigation overlooked some important information, and SAPD stepped in. Not only was a incident report generated, but there was a case number assigned, meaning that SAPD right now has a current ongoing investigation of attempted indecency by a child. That's a pretty serious, offense, especially when we're talking about a teacher that has contact with our children. One of the reasons that I believe that SAPD stepped in was because whenever there's an allegation made or an outcry by any student to any staff member of a district, whether it be in the form of an email, whether they go up to you and tell you, whether you suspect it or you see it, it is the educator's obligation, even if they're not sure, to report it to CPS within 48 hours. That is what TA mandates. It is a criminal offense if you don't. Per the principal's admission, it was not done. So I want y'all to be aware that there is an ongoing investigation, not only by SAPD, but CPS. As soon as SAPD was involved, CPS showed up the next day to the school to interview the student that made this allegation. Not all the parties have been interviewed. There's a lot of things that have been left out from the NISD's investigation, which is why I believe SAPD stepped in. In conclusion, I'm here as a parent to appeal to the school board and to the public and to inform you of the teacher that has such a serious allegation against him. I want to be sure that we as parents and administrators don't fail our kids. It's our job to ensure their safety and their well-being. No child should be made to feel uncomfortable in their own school. It is imperative that we provide for all students an environment that is conducive to learning. We need to reflect on what the proper protocol is when there is an active, ongoing investigation that can be verified, even if NISD has concluded an investigation that has allowed the man to return. Thank you.
Thank you.
Norma Barnes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Norma Barnes. I'm an assistant at Bell Middle School and a part member of Northside AFT. Today I'm here to bring information about First Book. But before I say anything about First Book, I would like to thank Dr. Woods for meeting with us during the summer and during the year, and also to the first title schools that had helped us with getting our commitment forms, and my family over here for doing the data entry, registering everybody for First Book. We received over 2,000 plus commitment forms, and out of this, our students for Title I schools are going to be the ones that are going to benefit from this program. Each student is going to receive 5 books to keep for themselves. And for us, this is something that I had wanted to do for a while and make a difference in our students. This program is going to be helping from kinder all the way to our seniors in high school. So I am glad to be part of this committee, and I'm here to give you more information. This information is about First Books is when companies make overpopulating books that they didn't sell, they donate them to a company called First Books. And from First Books, what they do is they give these free books to Title I schools. And I'm proud to be part of this committee. Not only that, but to invite y'all to sign a commitment form to let our students know that you're behind us with First Book. And also on March 24th, it's going to be where we're going to be distributing the books to our Title I students. And I'm inviting everybody here to attend at least an hour or two that particular day, which is March the 24th.
And how many books?
We're going to be receiving 40,000 books with the signatures that we got already. So that's the information that I bring into you.
That's outstanding.
Okay. Thank you.
And just what time is it going to be?
9 to 4.
9 to 4?
Mm-hmm. At the Barbara Taylor.
At Paul Taylor?
Phil. Also, if you want to volunteer to help us put the books by reading groups, we're going to start March the 19th to the 23rd.
And what time?
That would be done after school, which would be depending.
And that's at Paul Taylor.
Yes. So hopefully by 4:30, we're expecting at least one of you to show up and help us out.
We will. Nothing like a little pressure there.
Carol would be lovely. Represent us.
You've been volunteered. I think you'll be surprised that
Since
as
Dr.
many of us as
Woods
possible
had,
will try to
helped
be
us
there.
through this time, I think he should be the first one to volunteer.
I think Dr. Woods has already volunteered quite a bit on this project, but thanks for the invitation.
Okay. But we'll see you on the 24th, right?
I will, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's an exciting day, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank y'all very much for that effort that you're doing on this as well. This is going to really benefit a lot of kids. We're excited. Okay, and so we need to fill this out and give this back to you, right? Please. All right, let's take just 5 minutes real quick and do that. However, I'm not exactly sure what we're filling out. So one of y'all, we're just registering. Boy, we are a trusting group.
Would you like me to come explain? I will.
Please. Why don't you do it at the mic so everyone will hear?
You want me to speak?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, cool. I was going to explain it just to you, but
No,
the
to all
reason
of us,
the
please.
company is called First Book is whenever books are overpublished, they buy it. And then they donate it to kids who probably the opportunity to have books. So this is, for some of these Title I students, their first brand new book that's given to them. That's where the company's name comes from. And so what you're doing is you're registering for the company, and the more people register, the more books we can get. So we have secured a pallet of 40,000 books. They arrive in a pallet. That's why on Monday through Thursday or Friday, we need to sort and divide these books 1st through 12th grades. So that's going to be a lot of work. That's why we're asking for volunteers. And then on Saturday, students are going to come, their parents are going to come. We're going to hand out books to all of them.
I just wasn't sure what we
There
were
we go.
registering, but that's wonderful.
Any other questions?
How are the students going to get there on Saturday?
Through Title I, with Dr. Wood's help, they've all been informed. The dates have been, in fact, we're actually making posters that we can actually post in the front of the school to inform them. Letters have been sent out to parents through students. So it's a first come, first serve basis. Teachers from Title I are allowed 10 books, they can come get it. Students are allowed 5 books, they can come get it. So that's how it's going to be.
That's great. Thank you very much. Y'all will see some of us.
We hope so.
Yes. There you go. That is perfect. Let me just get.
That was our last one.
Okay, citizens to be heard is finished, and so the next item of business on the agenda is curriculum and instruction, the 1819 Services to Students with Autism Grant Proposal. Dr. Jordan.
Yes, thank you, President Chumley and the board. This evening, I'm requesting approval to submit a one-year grant from TEA that will focus on increasing services to autistic students who are aged 3 through 5. The purpose of this grant is to provide funds to Texas schools for professional development and also for tools to increase activity of parents and stakeholders with robust engagement opportunities. UTSA will provide services as well as program evaluation of the effectiveness of the programming. This award came up kind of at the last minute from TEA, and it's also due right around the corner. The due date is coming up in March, and right now TEA is saying that they plan to have approximately 10 awards that could be up to $1 million per award. We did learn in looking at the application that applications that districts who partner with other districts get quite a few more points considered in their application. So we are tentatively partnering with San Antonio ISD, Medina Valley, and several other surrounding districts. So at this time, we're asking for the board's approval to submit this grant. Ms. Reed, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would recommend approval of the.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Jordan. The next item of business on the agenda, my computer just logged out. Hang on just a second. Is the building,
Schematic design.
the schematic design. Mr. San Miguel for Rayburn Middle School.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. We have a couple items before you tonight. The first one is Rayburn, building replacement. And let me give you a little background before the architect gets up here and does a presentation. This evening, we have a facilities presentation for Rayburn Middle School. There are two parts of the presentation. The first part is the master plan, and the second part is schematic design, of which is part of the 2014 bond. In terms of the master plan, the building committee reviewed two options, of which one was the consensus. Therefore, you will see one option tonight. Schematic design consists of three basic components: the athletic upgrades, the fine arts upgrades, the ALE upgrades, and again, this is all part of the 2014 bond initiative. It is noteworthy to point out that the library, which is also part of the 2014 bond, will not be presented tonight. In order to determine the best location for the library, the master plan needed to be completed. And further, we felt that building committee needed to see the proposal and seek advice before we move forward. Given that we just finished the master plan, there was not sufficient time to fully prepare a schematic design for the library. However, we intend to bring the library next month for approval. Therefore, no action is necessary on that piece. Mr. Monty Howard is here tonight to give us a presentation, or presentations, the two presentations, along with Mr. John Casarina, an associate.
Okay, I'm sorry, Leroy. Which part? So what we had in building committee, let me just, we're not going to be talking about where the library is going to be?
We are. The master plan that was, the consensus shows where the library is going to be. Oh, as part of the master plan.
The only thing you won't see is the
Okay, is
schematic.
the schematic for the library?
Exactly.
Okay,
It'll be
good.
next month. That's
I'm
correct.
sorry, thank you. Thank you.
President Chumley, Board, Dr. Woods, we appreciate the opportunity to be here as always. Again, we'd like to run through the master plan concept to give kind of a pre-story to the schematic design that we'll present in just a moment. What you see here is the overall site aerial that also includes information on the order of construction for the project. Again, the campus has been there for a while, started out in 1961 and finished with the last major addition in 2011. So what you see here is a comparison of the existing campus with what will be the full build-out of the master plan as we propose it at this point. You can see that the overall concept of the campus doesn't change a whole lot, but we did want to plan where the most appropriate location for the new additions would go in the current phase of work that we're tasked to do. Next slide, please. What you see here is phase 1 and 2. Which phase 1 includes the current work that we're going to start out with for the schematic presentation in a moment, which includes the new boys athletics as part of Building H, and the new band hall as part of Building B, and also includes a lower level renovation for Building J, which will accommodate the ALE program, which is being displaced from Building D, which will be demolished as part of this work. Phase 2 shows you where the new library location will be. This phase may be combined with the next one, depending on what, we're still working with phasing on the contractor, but initial was to do site preparation, foundation work, and then next slide. Phase 3 shows the completed work of the library replacement in place, and probably will be combined as we move forward with design. Phase 4 is future work not associated with the current bond, which includes new administration expansion plan for its current location as well. This has implications on some of the infrastructure upgrades we will do in the schematic design proposal following. Next slide, please. Then independent phase work includes a drama lab addition, which will happen somewhere in the process of the rest of the construction on the campus, which is associated with Building H, where the current platform is for the building. Food service and the cafeteria are there. And then later independent phase has to do with parking expansion, which can happen at almost any time throughout the development of the campus. And if we move forward to the schematic design. Again, what you see here is an orientation plan for the location of the campus between 410 West and Valley High. Again, you see Jerry Allen Elementary School close by. This is in a very visible place on 410 and very close to the supporting neighborhoods. Next slide, please. What you see here is the existing site plan indicating the demolition of building D and F to make way for the new additions. The new additions essentially replace the functions in those buildings, which are currently aging buildings and do not meet district standard for design and program. The new band hall associated with Building B basically puts in close proximity all the fine arts and music programs together in that group of buildings. And then the new boys athletics on Building H, up sheet from you, also combines the athletic components together and really puts that part of the project in alignment with use of combined gymnasium facilities for the district. Next slide, please. What you see here is the enlarged schematic for the band hall. We've incorporated district standard design for the band hall, which includes the new enlarged band hall, uniform storage, music library, which will support all of the music programs, the band office, large ensemble room, instrument storage, and then practice rooms. What we've done here too is created a connection to the main corridor system of Building B through the space between the existing orchestra and the existing choir. And we're also proposing a renovation for a small mariachi program, working with district fine arts facilities. We've established a benchmark for that size, and we believe that we can do a renovation inside one of the classrooms to accommodate that program. What you see here is the proposed renovation for the lower level of Building J, which accommodates the ALE program, which is being displaced by the demolition of Building D. It includes the two ALE programs that are on the campus right now, the kitchen support and the ALE offices, which presently are housed in Building D as well. Next slide, please. Here you see the upper level, the main level of Building H for the boys athletics edition, which includes a new secondary gymnasium, which is in direct proximity to the existing spectator gymnasium, which allows us to create the shared use program, which is part of the new district guideline for athletic facilities. Also included on this level is a new weight room, unisex weight room, which has equal access between the girls and boys athletics programs. Currently, the girls athletic program is housed in Building H, adjacent to the existing gymnasium building. So we believe this proximity will work very well. Next slide, please. And in a move to create an efficient design, we've placed the locker room facilities support for the boys athletic program on a lower level, below the main level of Building H, which will give it actually very good direct access out to the athletic fields and close proximity, close access to the main level above. This creates a much more efficient design from for the district and has been vetted by the athletics department, and they are in full support of this scheme. This supports the district standard for locker rooms, coach's office, team storage, outside storage, and various other parts of the program for the district standard for athletics design. Next slide, please. We're going to go through some concept elevations. These are still, yes, ma'am.
Where's the, remember we had talked about we wanted building committee talked about that we wanted an office where, remember we talked about
Yes,
that?
ma'am. That's going to go upstairs with shared weight room. We're going to mine some square footage out of that room to place it up there.
You just don't have it on there right now?
It's not on there right now, but that's in the, that will be in part of the design development plan for the scheme.
Okay, but you're asking us to approve the schematic tonight, right? Without that change?
We will make that change. There will be an office right where the gym storage is at. That's going to be converted into a gym office.
Okay, so just the next time that you bring it back, can we make sure that it shows that?
Correct.
Okay,
We'll follow up. Next building committee will show you what that really looks like.
okay, thank you.
Next slide, please. This slide is an orientation image again of the existing campus to give you an idea of what the rest of the buildings look like. Our exterior design is based on the scheme for the existing building H, which is a banded design. Next slide, please. See here on the lower level, the lower elevation includes the design of the existing gymnasium building. It's very visible from I-410 and really creates a statement for the campus, which we are going to play on with the new designs for the building. What you see above is the west elevation, and we will continue this scheme around the building as well. Next slide, please. This scheme represents the band hall associated with Building B. Again, we're going to take the banded scheme, and as we move forward with the design development for the building elevations, we will do a little bit of massaging of this scheme to bring it more in alignment with the existing building behind it. That completes our schematic review.
Hold on just a second. Okay, so we need approval on the Rayburn Middle School. Let me see. Katie, I believe you weren't at this one. You were on, and Karen is not here, who was. Gerald, you were. If there's anything that you want to bring from the building committee?
No,
Or
yeah,
be
we
just
did
one
discuss this, and we did talk about that addition, about making that change for the office to be added in there for the gymnasium, and you were right, so we did ask for that to be done. And Leroy did say he was going to bring it back, so I move that we approve the plan for Rayburn, the schematic design for Rayburn Middle School as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the schematic design for Rayburn Middle School as presented. Dr. Harrell, you had a button pressed?
No, I just had a real quick question and a comment. What would be the capacity then, based on all the building changes? Is Rayburn increasing enrollment, or we're just refurbishing and?
Right, no net change in capacity
net,
at the
okay.
campus, right.
It is so exciting. I was there 18 years ago, and I do remember taking our kids to different schools, and they'd always go, "Miss, that school looks so great. How can our school look like that?" Well, the first time you imploded and rebuilt, it looked glorious. This is going to be even more incredible. So I just love it. It's beautiful.
I just wanted to add as well, if the facilities are beautiful and they feel
safe.
good, our students are going to be feeling good to attend and feeling good about their education and knowing that we support them.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Seeing no further comments or questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, and motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item of business on the agenda is the schematic design for the display area at Paul Taylor. Mr. San Miguel?
Again, let me give you some background. Tonight, we have the schematic design for the display area at Paul Taylor. We actually have a show and tell for you tonight. As you may know, we have been discussing the best way to showcase the front of Paul Taylor, which has recently undergone extensive renovations. As part of the design, there's a small entry as you walk into Paul Taylor, and this entry has been designed to accommodate a display area. It has been our intent on paying tribute by honoring Northside athletes in a special way. In a previous board meeting, a recommendation was presented and appeared acceptable. The Building Committee has reviewed the recommendation and found acceptable to bring to the board. In short, the concept of the display, which you'll see tonight, area is to give tribute to our athletes in 4 different categories: state champions, collegiate All-Americans, Olympians, and professional athletes. We have a couple of options to consider and obtain some direction in terms of the color of some of the lettering, which was discussed in Building Committee, and then get a chance to see it all. So tonight we will bring that to you. So given that, I will not take the architect's thunder any further, and I will ask Roy Garza Baumberger to prep design.
Roy Lewis.
Did I say Roy Lewis?
No, you said Garza.
Did I say Roy Garza? Okay, I just promoted you, didn't I? Along with Rick Manning, his associate.
Thank you, Leroy.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Woods, thank you for having us here. Basically, tonight we're asking for a schematic design on the athletic tributes for the Paul Taylor Fieldhouse. Paul Taylor, as part of its renovation in 2017, we created a new entry and display area, as you've probably seen when you come into the building now. In that, we created 4 bays and roughed in for planning for this future athletic tribute. As Leroy mentioned, it would be broken into 4 areas, which would be the state champions, the collegiate All-Americans, the Olympians, and as well as professional athletes. The display would be consisting of a standoff system with acrylic panels that are laser engraved. They would then be self-illuminated with LED lighting in the standoffs. Each bay would have a video monitor that would display the various athletes and their schools. That could be a continuously running presentation. With that, I'm going to show you 2 options. One would be using what we call the clear anodized aluminum letters, which would be a lighter in color. And then the second one I'll show you would be a Durnock bronze, which would be a little bit darker. This option number 1 is with that. And this would be the effect we are looking for as these are displayed on this standoff system. What's nice about these standoffs is it'll be modular. These panels can always be replaced if damaged. We can add to the display as names are added when these accomplishments occur. We also, in using the 4-inch displays, we can also, in the panels that don't have the names engraved, we can use them for display of things like jerseys and other trophies and things like that that they want to display. As I mentioned, this is using the anodized aluminum, the clear here. We'll go to option 2, which goes to a dark bronze letter. And in this elevation here, it's kind of hard to see. However, if we go here, this would be similar to some of the Durnock bronze that's used in this building, like your door frames and things like that. That would be the use of those darker letters. What we're asking for is, which one do you prefer? And really, that's basically the whole concept. Are there any questions?
I mean, yeah, they did a great job on doing this and presenting the items, and I do recall in the meeting, you know, I was a little, you know, going back and forth and having to do with the color, and you were correct. I think when we talked about the color and it had a lot to do with the clear anodized lettering. Along with that, it really blended well. So to me, you know, in some of the discussions, I kind of got a sense that that was like the direction that people wanted to go. But I mean, I remember that conversation distinctly, so I think it was the clear anodized lettering that people were looking at, which was the silver, yeah, kind of that silver one, not the bronze one that had to do with the door. Yeah,
One more right there.
yeah, that one with the lettering, and I think that's what, you know, I'm not trying to speak for anybody else, but I think everybody was kind of like, yeah, that looks good, you know, and so, but,
Is there a motion to come before the board?
well, I'll go ahead and I'll make the recommendation. I'll move that we approve the lettering with the clear anodized lettering. With the option one, I believe. Right. So, as presented today.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the display view for Paul Taylor Fieldhouse of option one, which is the
Anodized lettering.
anodized lettering in the silver. And so, Roy, I know I gave you a really hard time because I like the gold that you presented to us, but this looks beautiful.
Thank you.
And it is, thank you for coming up with an option that can please all of us. It really looks good.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Although, all those in favor, are there any questions or comments? Do you like this, Mr. Blunt?
No, I trust you all.
He doesn't like colors. No, not at all. Okay, well then you can vote though. So all those in favor of the motion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye of option one. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
It's gonna look great. When will it be finished?
It is going to be beautiful.
As a motivational tool?
And then where are we on the veterans one? Crud, I just turned my computer off. Okay, the next item of business on the agenda is the Budget Amendment 2 for school year 2017-2018. Mr. Rastellini.
Thank you, Ms. Chumbley. This evening, we do have Budget Amendment Number 2 to the 2017-18 budget. This amendment is typically presented in the February-March timeframe, and it usually contains adjustments and realignment of resources. Highlights of the amendment include a decrease in the base budget appropriations of $14,383,988. Most of this is the result of realignment of payroll costs. Other budget adjustments include increase for staffing, utilities, and appraisal district costs. And again, these are base budget adjustments which will carry from year to year. Increase in the appropriations for one-time costs include the amendment total of $13,074,181. $12 million of that adjustment is increased due to appropriation for projects included from the 2016 hail damage. Resources of the projects are coming from dedicated funds, which were the result of insurance proceeds that the district had received earlier. Increases to revenue include an additional insurance proceeds from the 2016 hailstorm of $18,676,035. There are no adjustments to the debt service nor the child nutrition fund at this particular time. Those adjustments will come in Budget Amendment 3. Net increase to the fund balance from the budget amendment presented this evening is $19,985,842. $13 million is expected to be dedicated to future state deficits, and $7 million dedicated to future 2016 hail damage projects.
David, can I just stop you for just a second?
ma'am.
Do we have a display, a presentation?
No, there's no presentation on this
okay.
particular amendment. It would be the same report that we have in the board agenda. The amendment
Okay,
was...
just to ask, next time,
Sure.
can we have it where we can see it on the screen?
Sure can.
Okay.
I can build something there, absolutely.
It's just easier.
I
These
got
old
you.
eyes,
I
thank you.
got you.
I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. We did discuss the amendment in detail and went through all the adjustments in the Finance Committee meeting earlier this evening. And at this time, the administration would recommend the approval of Budget Amendment 2 as presented.
Mr. Lopez, as the Finance Committee Chair, did you have anything to add?
Yes, Madam President, I think a lot of, just talking about, David and the great job that him and his team have done on this and doing the previous, doing the budget amendments and all the time that goes into it, I'd like to go ahead and, move that that this item that was presented by David in the Finance Committee meeting earlier this evening, in addition to these highlights that Mr. Russell Levy has just presented, that he did discuss the individual items that make up the balance of the amendment as presented. So with that, I move that for the approval of the budget amendment number 2 for 2017-2018 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the budget amendment for the Budget Amendment 2 for school year 17-18. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley, and I have made a note to prepare a presentation for these in the future, so I appreciate
Okay,
that.
thank you. It's just easier sometimes, David, to have it up there.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you. The next item of business on the agenda is actually administration. Mr. Glendo, request for maximum class size waivers.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Chumley, Dr. Wismar, of the board. This hopefully would be the last request for waivers. This Friday, the 22-to-1 does not apply anymore. But tonight we do come and ask for 14 waivers that we have in classrooms out there and ask for approval for those 14.
All right. Are there any comments or questions?
Motion approved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the request for maximum class size waivers. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you. Next item of business on the agenda is the resolution to nominate Dr. Brian Woods for Texas Association of School Boards, and I'm the one that gets to present that, Dr. Woods. So I think that you know how the board feels about you and the leadership that you have provided for the district, and we are very honored and pleased to have you as our superintendent. And I know that you are not big on awards or bringing attention to yourself, but you're just going to have to bear with it because the board wants to nominate you for the Texas Association of School Board Superintendent of the Year.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Harrell.
No, I just want to add any attention that, Brian may feel uncomfortable with is much more attention on North Side. So I think that will shine a light even brighter on all the great things. So anyway, I know you're very humble, but I know when a superintendent impacts the classroom, the kids will be so proud to have you win this award. And even if you don't win, you've won it here, so.
And so, like Carol said, it's because we can. So is there a motion coming for the board?
I would move approval of the resolution for Superintendent of the Year for Dr. Brian Woods.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to nominate Dr. Brian Woods for Texas Association of School Board Superintendent of the Year. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries.
They're voting.
You're voting yes? That's good.
Ms. McGee, can you mark me as an abstain?
And even though Dr. Woods, Karen, was not able to be with us today, tonight, she did want you to know that she full-heartedly agrees with this, and so you have a very strong consensus of your board that this is what we want to do. So, thank you. The next item of business on the agenda, Dr. Woods, future addenda items.
Yes, ma'am. Just to point out, in the blue folder at your place, there are a couple of invitations. Actually, I'm sorry, one invitation to Los Leones, which we actually mentioned earlier in our meeting. And then, of course, you've got the list of future agenda items. One meeting in March, the regular meeting, and then we start our regular 2 meetings a month as we go towards approval of our budget towards the end of the summer.
Yay, great. All right, then we are about to move into closed session. So, Board of Trustees on February 27th, beginning at 9:07, will convene in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.072 and 551.074. All right, I think we're ready. The Board of Trustees on February 27th, beginning at 9:32. Is that, yeah. 9:27. Thank you very much, guys. You can tell I need to change my glasses. 9:27 will convene an open meeting. All right, is there a motion come before the board?
I would move that we approve the recommendations that were presented in closed meeting.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the recommendations.
No,
For staff.
I'm sorry.
But
just
for staff?
For clarification, is that on item A, Mrs. Reed, or is that items, the appointments B
Yeah,
through E?
we need to clarify the appointments. Is that the appointments, Katie?
Yeah, the appointment.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we approve the appointments, items B, C, D, and E. All those, is there a second?
And F.
Second.
It's been moved and
It's not
seconded.
B, C, D, E, and F, I think.
Oh, it's just, I've got B, C, D, and E.
Right.
And F.
B, C, D,
No,
and
no.
E. Open session.
In open session is B, C, D, and E. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Is there a motion coming before the board in relation to the consideration and possible action concerning superintendent's recommendations regarding administrative staff contracts? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consideration and possible action concerning superintendent's recommendations regarding administrative staff contracts. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, no new business. We are adjourned.